Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time today to join us for the Elevate Finance Virtual Summit. My name is Anand Misra, and I'm the Director of Product and Partner Marketing here at Kpmg. Just a few housekeeping items before we start. I will not repeat everything since it was up on your screens for a little bit. So there is no dial-in for this event, and the audio is through your computer only. Please submit your questions via the Q&A section, and we will cover it towards the end. I would also encourage you to look at the Resource Center for more content from both Kpmg and Everflow, who's our partner and co-sponsoring this event. Lastly, we would appreciate your feedback, so please complete the survey before exiting the event. We also have a couple of polling questions and would appreciate your responses. So with that, we have our first polling question. So what interested you about attending this webinar? And the responses are: resolving pain around making payments, solving inefficiencies with global banking, experiencing challenges around managing suppliers, learn more about tax compliance, and hear from real-world practitioners about AP automation. So you will have 30 seconds to respond, and the question again is, what interested you about attending this webinar? Resolving pain around making payments, solving inefficiencies with global banking, experiencing challenges around managing suppliers, learn more about tax compliance, hear from real-world practitioners about AP automation. So please hit the submit button once you're done, and then we'll move on. I guess the 30 seconds are up, so moving on. So thank you for responding to the polling question, everyone. So before we start, I wanted to provide a quick background. So we've run these Elevate Finance events over the past few years across various cities in the country and had an excellent response from the attendees. And the goal of these events is to get finance professionals together in a small and intimate setting, talk about the challenges, and then hear from folks like yourselves on how they are scaling and modernizing their financial operations. The main difference this time around is due to the COVID-19 situation, this is now a virtual event. And when the situation improves, hopefully soon, we will return to the on-site version. So let's kick it off. So here's the agenda for today. After a quick round of introductions, I will touch upon a few of the challenges that the discipline of finance faces today. After that, I will hand it over to Scott Olson, Kpmg's Director of Customer Marketing, who will interview our expert panelist, Abbey Herlein, Controller of Sovrn Holdings. Abbey will share her story and provide insights into how her company has automated and modernized their payables operations. We will also hear from Michael Cole, VP of Marketing at Everflow. Everflow is our partner and a next-gen partner marketing platform. This will be followed by a live product demo by our Senior Solution Consultant, Erica Clark. And please enter your questions on the Q&A panel, and we will cover them towards the end. So the role of finance has broadened over the past decade, and this is not new to anyone. So beyond the core responsibilities of things such as accounting, bookkeeping, financial reporting, FP&A, and closing the books, finance leaders are playing a prominent role in company-wide strategy, in mergers and acquisition, globalization, and a whole lot of other improvement initiatives across the company. CFOs have also become prominent as the voice of the company in areas such as investor relations and in communications with the board as well. Suffice it to say that the role of finance has broadened and become more strategic. The problem is that the back-end processes are still highly manual, which take a lot of effort to get done. In fact, the effort may be higher now since you have to deal with things such as the gig economy, different business models, your partners being spread globally. There are frequent changes to tax and regulatory compliance, in fraud, etc. Especially if you look at payables, it is the number one most manual and time-consuming financial function. And that generally stands in the way of finance modernizing, automating, and getting to the higher standard of doing more strategic tasks. So our take at Kpmg is that this most time-consuming activity, your payables operations, can be automated relatively quickly and run like a machine, basically with the tools that are available in the market today. Our recommendation is that you should look at payables holistically, not just the payments piece or the partner management piece or the invoice piece, but the end-to-end function and automating those. So as you scale and become global with multiple subsidiaries, global tax and regulatory compliance, fraud, risk, and payments to manage, you would not have to bother about those areas with the right system in place. And that's where the payable transformations come in. Many finance teams are modernizing the way they manage their payables operations. And the reason they're doing it is to help their company scale and be efficient while helping finance teams focus more on strategic tasks. It's also imperative that businesses develop and execute a sustainable plan to manage costs, especially in the current COVID-19 environment. And to do this effectively, you have to look at your core payables operations and find ways to automate and streamline so that you can deliver more with less, right? So essentially scaling the operations and manage costs. You also have to ensure that the current work from home productivity is maintained while addressing the operational risks that come along with it. So if there is one message that you can take away from today's presentation, it's that the current systems and technologies that are available in the market today will help your team and operations become more efficient. So with that, we have our second polling question. And what payment methods are you currently using? And the responses are paper checks, wire transfer, domestic ACH, international ACH or e-check, PayPal, prepaid debit card, or other. So you have 30 seconds, and the question again is, what payment methods are you currently using? Paper checks, wire transfer, domestic ACH, international ACH or e-check, PayPal, prepaid debit card, and other. Hit the submit button once you're done, and then we'll move on. Okay, moving on. So thank you for the responses. So hopefully, having provided a bit of context on the challenges facing the finance teams, I wanted to give a quick overview about the Tipalti platform, and you will see a demo shortly around all the elements that you see on your screen. So this is the wheel, or the Tipalti wheel, which highlights our philosophy that if you put a robust system in place now, you will not outgrow it as you scale. We provide end-to-end solution to manage the entire payables operations. So it starts at the top with supplier or partner management with self-service onboarding, which includes over 26,000 built-in rules and validation to ensure that the payment data is accurate. You can white label the partner portal so that your brand is up and center in front of your payees. We have a Kpmg certified tax compliance engine that identifies and collects the correct tax forms such as the W-9s and W-8s and generates 1099s and 1042-S tax prep reports and also calculates any necessary year-end withholdings. So if you have invoice-backed payments, the solution includes invoice processing with OCR technology and machine learning to ensure that it's touchless or seamless invoice processing along with advanced approvals. We also have a 2- and 3-way PO matching if you have PO-backed invoices. We are also a licensed money transmitter and pay across 190 countries in 120 currencies with 6 different payment methods. We do sanction screening to ensure that you don't pay anyone who's on a terrorist watch list somewhere or who's listed as a money launderer. We have robust reporting with more than 20 out-of-the-box reports and real-time multi-entity payment reconciliation with several ERPs, which basically ensures faster financial flows. We also have pre-built integrations with performance marketing systems such as Everflow, Cake, HitPath, LinkTrust, Paladin, HasOffers, etc. And as I stated earlier, we have Michael Cole, VP of Marketing at Everflow, who will talk about his solution a little bit later. NetNow is our built-in early payment solution, so you can generate revenue by paying supplies earlier without adding to your workload or impacting your working capital. So one last capability that I want to highlight that you see at the service foundation level is basically our multi-FX or intercompany bank transfer capability. So you can save time and money on foreign exchange or FX conversions. It is ideal for companies with multiple entities who are paying in different currencies globally. So essentially what Tipalti does is it converts the currency that it's funded in into subsidiary currencies and processes these payouts. So it's all built on the Tipalti platform, which ensures proper financial controls and compliance. So here is a sample list of our customers, from fast-growing startups to established companies across various industries that are benefiting from Tipalti. So our customer satisfaction rate is 98%, which is by far one of the best in the industry, and it shows our commitment to our customers, basically not only from the perspective of the software that we develop, but also the service that we provide. The ROI also includes eliminating 80% of payables workload with our current technology, and reduction in payment errors with over 66% with all the intelligent data and payment validation rules that are built into the system. We can accelerate financial close by 25% or more with real-time reconciliation, as I stated earlier, with ERPs such as NetSuite, Intact, and QuickBooks Online. The one area that I also want to touch upon today is partner experience, which is one of the most critical touch points in mass pay. And with Tipalti, you can attract and retain top partners with best-in-class payment experience, all while maintaining control of your brand. So here are some specific ROI examples from our customers. So Touch of Modern, which is a men's fashion company, went from $6 million to $150 million in annual revenue without adding to AP resources with Tipalti. Omnia Media, which is one of the largest gaming video networks globally with over 50 million unique visitors per month, reduced their partner onboarding, compliance, and payments workload with Tipalti. They basically eliminated the need to hire additional back-office resources by reallocating about 4 people for other value-added initiatives since Tipalti implementation. Seeking Alpha, which is the world's largest crowdsourced content service of financial markets, reduced their payables workload by 85% with Tipalti. They essentially went from 56 hours per month to 8 hours to pay contributors around the world. And Boost Media, which is a crowdsourced platform that helps advertisers and ad agencies create and manage creative, was quickly able to scale to 30 global regions with Tipalti. And these are just a few examples of our customers who have benefited from Tipalti. So next, you will hear from Abbey Herlein on how her company has benefited from automating their payables operations. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Scott for the interview. Scott, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Anand. Good afternoon, everyone. Really appreciate you joining us today. My name is Scott Olson, and I'm Director of Customer Marketing with Tipalti. I've spent the most of my career in software that's been aimed at streamlining finance and operations. Folks in those roles, streamlining decision-making and workflows. And it's a real honor to be joined here by Abbey Herlein from Sovrn, who really has transformed the financial operations at Sovrn for success. And so, Abbey, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to do a little bit of an intro of you and Sovrn, and then we'll hop into our conversation. Folks in the audience, if you have any questions for Abbey as they come up, please use the Q&A window to input those questions. All right, so let's meet Abbey. Abbey is a CPA, and she is the controller at Sovrn Holdings in Boulder, Colorado. Sovrn is a provider of products and services to thousands of online publishers that help them grow, operate their business, understand their readership, and manage consumer data. Sovrn has 10,000 plus customers deploying its products across 40,000 websites. And Sovrn reaches 200 million consumers across more than 4 billion page views every day. Prior to joining Sovrn, Abbey held finance leadership roles at Marketo and RMS. So, Abbey, thank you so much for joining. To open up our conversation, I just do want to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Sovrn and your role there.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here today. So, as Scott mentioned, I'm Abbey Herlein. I'm the global controller at Sovrn. I started at Sovrn in December of 2018. So about a year and a half here and a lot going on. So it's an exciting time at Sovrn. So Sovrn really has multiple product lines, as Scott just mentioned. So Sovrn is here to help publishers understand their audiences, grow their business, and assist in monetizing their content. So our mission is to assist publishers. We want publishers to do more of what they love and less of what they don't.
Yeah, excellent. Well, let's also, because we have folks probably in finance roles or finance careers here, I love hearing about how you got kind of into this career role in finance real quick, Abby.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I've always known that I wanted to get into accounting and finance, so that was an easy decision. I started in public accounting at RSM, and I worked there for 6 to 7 years. I got experiencing a lot of different businesses, working with a lot of different individuals within different businesses, and throughout that time in public accounting, just like you, Scott, I realized that software and technology is where I was most interested in. So after being in the Bay Area for a couple years, I decided to move back to Colorado and work for really software and technology companies ever since then. And that's what's led me to Sovrn.
Yeah. And, you touched on it. You guys have kind of a complex business there. Could you shed a little bit of light on how you guys kind of generate your revenues, what your model is around that?
Yeah, definitely. It is definitely a different type of industry and business than what I've worked in before. So it's definitely a little more complicated. So I'll do my best to explain it. But our main business model, as I mentioned, is to help publishers grow their business and monetize on their content. So Sovrn's stance in that is that for one of our main revenue streams is that we facilitate the advertisers and the publisher website. We help facilitate the advertisement being placed on the publisher website. So we are essentially the middleman in that auction, and we take a cut from the bid that comes in from the advertiser to what gets placed on the publisher's website. So we get that gross revenue and then pay out the revenue share to the publisher.
Got it. So payments are a core part of your operation there.
Yes.
A little bit about tell us about your role, and the philosophy that you have about how finance really helps Sovrn's mission of helping these publishers.
Yeah, I think if you talk to anyone that works at Sovrn and look at our website, our customers are our publishers, so it's a little bit different. And those are the publishers we're working with. We're paying them. They're very important to us, and so I think the finance team, the role that we have is just making the experience for the publisher easy and painless, so that starting from the onboarding process to the payment process, it should be easy for a consumer to know how they're making their money, when they're going to get paid, how they're going to get paid, and be able to control that. So I think that's how I look at the finance role from a consumer perspective. And then obviously, we're here to help any other functions of the business as well.
Yeah. And so, obviously the world changed dramatically with COVID-19. How has it affected you and your finance team there?
Yeah, probably like a lot of companies, Sovrn has definitely been affected by this, as well as the advertising industry in general. So we've had to adapt quickly to those changes, be proactive about changes, and I think Sovrn has done a really good job of that. Definitely some hard decisions, were made in there, but moving forward, and I think we have a proactive approach going forward. So I think with the finance team in particular, we have the technology and the resources in place that made the transition to working remotely fairly easy, which I felt lucky about. And I honestly think that during this, we've gained a lot of efficiencies, and we actually work better together now than we did before this.
That is interesting. So as we begin to settle down and the economy is opening up a bit, has anything changed for you guys? Like, is there anything you're doing today different than your approach 6 months ago in your operations?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of initiatives going on around the business, and I think the last few months have made us really take a step back and look at our products and services and say, how can we make these better? How can we make the experience for our publishers better? And from that, a handful of really important and big initiatives have come out of that. And I'm really excited for them to get rolling. And one of the largest ones is making a seamless process for the publisher onboarding. So that's having one streamlined process in one payment process, one way they can track their earnings, one way they get payment, and obviously Tipalti and the AP process is a really big part of that.
Indeed. And then as far as the payments are concerned, can you describe when you realized your payment operations there were becoming very challenging? What was it like when you were having to make these payments and you didn't have maybe technology to help the process?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of changes in the past year. So when I started in December of 2018. On the day I started, we announced that we acquired a company, VigLink, out of San Francisco. So there was a lot of work to be done right from the beginning, and this company really fit with our mission and our products and services. So with that, we basically doubled our publisher base and our vendor base, more than doubled it, in fact. So I think shortly after we acquired that business, I think we realized that we can't continue a manual accounts payable process. I mean, just so everyone is aware, I mean, we pay thousands of publishers a month, so we're making 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 payments a month. And before, this was all manual. So we were, manually setting up wires in our bank. We were manually processing payments through PayPal. And so there was no one resource that we used for payments. And so we quickly realized that had to change if we wanted to scale and make this easy for our publishers.
Yeah, and speaking of easy for your publishers, let's touch on the importance of that experience that you want to give them when they decide to opt in with Sovrn and become a customer of yours, essentially, and yet they will be paid by you. And so they have to onboard into your system to get paid in a compliant way. So describe how that important factor and how it's going for you.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot in the last year in a very positive way, and honestly, Tipalti's made that much easier. And so we would, prior to our move, we would onboard publishers manually, and so we would have to manually collect W-9s. We would manually ask for payment information and have to update that, as an accounting team ourselves. Whereas now it's all streamlined, and the publisher really owns that process. And so in order to become a payable publisher or vendor in Tipalti, they had to provide a W-9 or W-8. Tipalti reviews all of those and make sure they are valid forms. And if they aren't, they reach out to the publisher and to us to let them know. And so I think that has made a huge impact. And it also gives the publishers more control over how they want to be paid, their payment type and whatnot. And so I think it's been really helpful. I know when we did our 1099s this year, it was much easier. And I just want to add that the Tipalti support that we get has been really great. And I think that every time there's a publisher who doesn't have a valid W-9, or there's something inconsistent about the information they provided, they reach out to us immediately and notify us that they reach out to the publisher, letting them know that there's this issue and they need to fix it before they become payable again.
Interesting. Great. And speaking of that, you just described a little bit of the pain around different payment methods, having to log into banks, PayPal, writing checks, the way things had to go before. Now let's describe your payables operations today, how that flow goes with Tipalti.
Yeah, it's much easier, and our payables operations process today, processing thousands of payments each month. It used to take, 20 to 25 hours at the end of the month to do this process. Now it takes 2 to 3 hours to pay just as many publishers. And so for us, it's as easy as running the earnings report, matching that against the payee file from Tipalti based on, payment type, who's payable, and it's as easy as matching those two up and then uploading a CSV file within Tipalti and processing the payment that way. It's something, like I said, that takes a couple hours for us to do, rather than, 20 hours a month. And not to mention, that's not even including the time that was spent updating payment information for our vendors, updating payment types. That's all on the vendor side now.
Indeed, yeah. So as you touched on that a little bit, thinking kind of with your finance hat on, kind of the benefits to your team and to you with time, productivity, how you operate, how you onboard partners, and just, the team itself staying lean. I'm sort of putting words in your mouth, but how would you describe the benefits of your automation in payments? What has it given you guys?
Yeah, you touched on it. And I think that Sovrn Finance and Accounting team.
We can still hear you, Abby.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So Sovrn's accounting team does run very lean. We're very efficient, and we try to be as efficient as we can in those processes. And so I think the main benefit that we've gained is that it's automated now. This is not a manual process that we have to do. We're not uploading 150 wires a month to the bank manually. And I've seen a huge benefit of that. We are able to work on other projects and work on efficiencies for other vendors and functions within our organization.
Excellent. And as we wrap up our conversation, just as you mentioned the productivity that you guys have gained, what is next for you and your team? What are you guys diving into next to help the operation and help the mission?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've made a lot of advances in our AP process. There's still more to go. So what that looks like for the rest of the year for the Sovrn accounting team is that we still have our foreign managed publishers still being paid outside of the system. So we're moving all publishers and all vendor payments to Tipalti within the next couple of months. And we are moving, Tipalti has an integration with our ERP system, NetSuite. And so that is a big push that we want to get done within the next few months. So that's what I see our AP process looking like in the next, 3 to 6 months.
All right. Sounds exciting, Abby. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really engaging conversation. Appreciate it. And now I'm going to move it on to our partner, Everflow. Michael Cole, on to you.
Hey, everyone. This is Michael Cole. I'm the VP of Marketing at Everflow. We're a partner marketing platform, which means that we provide the platform for managing all of your performance relationships. on the marketing side, whether that's affiliates, which are third-party professional market behalf, influencers, your own referral partnership relationships, or even all your media buying channels. Before I start, just want to say that I'm really excited. We've loved having Tipalti as an integrated partner in our system, and it's an honor to be a sponsor today. So today, I'm assuming that most of the audience is on the finance side, so I'm going to talk about performance marketing for the financially inclined. And I want to start by talking about a pet peeve of mine, which is with personal finance, always treating the path to being rich is as simple as just cut, cut, cut. If you cut just enough lattes or just enough avocado toast, one day you'll be a multi-millionaire. We all know that it's a little bit trickier than that. And it's just as much about how you can grow revenue as how you can cut costs. But that being said, I mean, from the marketing side, the realistic thing is that a lot of advertising placements are a waste of money. And until you have the data and the analytics around it to really understand what's working and what's not working, you're not really creating a sustainable way to grow your business. So you need data and analytics to do this. And one of the big parts about this is when you're thinking about marketing, especially if you're buying advertising from, say, a Facebook or Google, you're actually buying from tens of thousands of placements, whether it's internal Facebook placements or their large app marketplace of places that they monetize. Of those placements, maybe only 10% or 20% drive real results and real performance. So just like with accounting, you need to have the data. And you need to understand what is actually generating revenue and what is just a cost center. So when you're thinking about performance marketing, the best way to think about it is where it starts is with referrals. These always are the tentpole of any successful marketing campaign. I've spent years talking with agencies and professional marketers about how they get their own customers, and it always ends up being referrals because these are your most engaged users. These are the people that are most passionate, that are looking for something in the space, and they have the trust of the person referring. So you start performance marketing with a referral source. But the problem with referrals is even though that's going to be your best type of new customer, it doesn't scale. And so that's where you need to have the ability to test more channels, to compare more channels, and to see how they perform so that you can get to the point where you can aggregate all of your performance and understand. So with Everflow, where we provide some of the biggest value is the ability to track everything from one place. So imagine the world before Tipalti, where sometimes you have to log into every single vendor's account, see how much you owe them, how much you've done with them, et cetera. That becomes really painful and time consuming. And if you're constantly doing that, it's you have to spend a ton of time afterwards just combining everything so you have any idea of the big picture. It's the exact same with marketing. And things like Facebook and Google are walled gardens where you don't get to see how the data there is performing against your other channels. So where Everflow supports is by having that place where all performance can be in one location. You can see how Facebook compares against Google compares to this. And you can look at a lot more than just say, I've driven sales from Facebook, I've driven sales from Google. What really matters is how did the engagement of those sales and the ROI from those sales compare against, say, a referral relationship, compare against an affiliate, compare against influencers. So having that aggregated view of what really matters lets you make a lot deeper insights into everything. And the goal of this is basically to create a cash engine where you can take new revenue, you can funnel it, shovel it in like coal into the engine and drive more growth for your business. You can start scaling up revenue, et cetera. And all of this requires having both the testing part, but also the data to see what is really working. And Everflow supports in that situation by both providing the foundation of referrals and the ability to analyze how every single channel that you test is performing against those referrals, which ones are driving a positive ROI, which placements are driving a positive ROI, and the whole goal to drive more business for your company, bring up more revenue, which makes your marketing team look better, lets them make smarter decisions about what's really working, and ultimately makes everyone on the finance side a lot happier, because rather than worrying about cutting costs, they can focus on growing the business, and growing revenues means that there's a whole lot of decisions that you never need to make tough choices about. That's it. If you know anyone on your team or anyone that would benefit from our platform, we'd love to chat with them, and all referrals always appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. That was an excellent presentation. And now it's Erica Clark, our Senior Solution Consultant, for the live demo. Erica, please take it away.
Great. Thank you, Anand. As I share my screen, a couple things to keep in mind as we are taking a look at the demo. We're going to, Tipalti takes a holistic approach to your global payables. And where we're going to start is with those publishers and those influencers and those contractors that you may be paying. What you see in front of you is the onboarding portal. It is branded to your organization. And this information for your publishers, your influencers, your payees, they will be entering their own data. This particular publisher, payee in my demo environment, you will see is located in the United States. Now, a couple things. There are 26,000 validation rules that are built within this portal. So the address serves two different purposes. The first is to make sure that you are paying exactly who you are supposed to be paying, and also making sure that it is accurate. The second purpose of the address is to be able to dictate which payment methods may be available. This particular payee is located in the United States. If this payee was located in, let's say, the UK, those payment methods would shift. As I move here to the payment methods, Tipalti offers 6 different payment methods: ACH, SEPA, local bank transfer used internationally, wire, check, PayPal. Another one is a prepaid debit card used in Europe. So you'll see that with many of you, PayPal is currently a payment method of choice. With utilizing PayPal with Tipalti, you can either continue to use your own PayPal account, or you can use Tipalti's. We are streamlining your entire payables process here. We also have built within this platform the ability to drive your payees to choose a much easier method of payment. If you currently are paying out in a lot of checks, we can help drive those payees to perhaps an ACH. Next are tax forms. Tipalti makes it seamless to collect tax forms. So replacing all of the manual labor that you have today and very time-consuming end-of-the-year process for collecting these tax forms, and also making sure that they're accurate. We collect the W-9s, W-8s, also VAT used internationally. W-9, we're collecting the name, the SSN or the EIN, and a digital signature at the bottom. Nightly, we're conducting a 1099, we're conducting a 10 validation. This 10 validation is taking this data and bumping it up against the IRS database to, once again, make sure that this information is correct. Couple of other benefits to your payees is the platform comes in multiple languages, and then also they're going to have access to payment history. As you can imagine, this will alleviate a lot of phone calls and emails to your team about payments, previous payments, current payment status. They can simply log into their portal and gain all of that information. Also, they will have access to invoice history. As we move on to the Tipalti AP Hub, this is where your AP team will be utilizing Tipalti. This is where you will make payments. This is where, for many of you, you will be focused on remitting those payments. In the beginning of our time together, just know as well, Tipalti can support your SG&A invoices so that this becomes a one-stop, one solution for your entire accounts payable department. All right, so in terms of payments, there's a couple of different flexibility options that you have. You can upload a CSV file, and that file will essentially have 3 pieces of information in order for Tipalti to remit these payables on your behalf. It would be that unique identifier associated with that payee, the name of the payee, how much you would like to pay that payee, and the currency. Also, another method that you have is to have a API that is built so that this is automated for you. And also know that there's a lot of times for this type of particular workflow, the performance management tool that you may be using will be able to gather all of that data easily for you. Once that file makes its way to Tipalti, that data will essentially turn into a payment batch. I have several payment batches here in my demo environment. You can utilize, be able to have the approval workflow as it relates to these payments, pay control. One person can receive an email, they approve the whole entire batch. As we take a deeper dive into a batch, you'll see here that there are 17 payments. The payees that we're paying, you'll have a status, and then truly the power of Tipalti rests right here in the payment method column, and then also the amount submitted column. In the payment method column, you will see various payment methods ranging from ACH, PayPal, checks, e-checks, SEPA, all in one payment batch, and then also various currencies all in one payment batch. So truly, speaking to what Abby spoke about earlier, truly streamlining and reducing the manual labor and time spent in making these payments to your publishers, your influencers, your contractors. From there, Tipalti will tell you exactly how much funds is required to remit this payment on your behalf. You will have that total lump sum. Tipalti will let you know how much that is, and then you will choose the bank account that you would like to push these funds from. Once the funds are received from your bank account into your Tipalti virtual account, those payments are remitted on your behalf. Your payees will receive an email letting them know that a payment is on the way. Lastly is reports, something that is important. Reports within Tipalti, you can generate a report based on payments, based on bills, and also perhaps the 1099 prep report, which is very popular. This is going to have a list of all of those W-9 payees, and it will show you exactly how much you have paid those payees every month. And you'll simply take that prep report and hand it to your tax preparer to take it through the finish line. Reconciliation as well. If you don't have an API built, this reconciliation report does a good job of showing you the debits and the credits. So that one lump sum that went out, all the individual payments that were made against that one lump sum, you will have complete reconciliation in that report. Okay. And I'll stop there, and Anand, hand it back over to you for Q&A.
Thank you, Erica. That was a really compelling demo. Just wanted to add that, since this is catering towards the mass pay audience, I also wanted to touch upon that we have invoice-backed payments as well. So everything from the invoice from the time it comes in to processing that invoice by OCR, machine learning, and then we have managed services to basically the approvals with all the intelligent routing that takes place to basically paying an invoice-backed payment. And also, if there are PO-backed invoices, we do 2- and 3-way PO matching with NetSuite as well. So that we did not cover in detail today. So I just wanted to share that as well. So there are quite a few questions. I think we can get to a few today, certainly. So Abby, to you, basically, the first question is what accounting software Sovrn uses, and how's the process to integrate with Tipalti?
Yeah, good question. So Sovrn uses NetSuite, and we currently do not have an integration with Tipalti. However, that is coming in Q3. We've had lots of discussions with Tipalti regarding that integration, lots of demos from it, and so I'm confident that it will be a streamlined process.
Sure. I just wanted to add that, we have, sorry, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt, Abby.
No, you're good. I just wanted to add that even though we don't have an integration, the part that Erica just touched on, the reconciliation that Tipalti has makes it very easy at the end of the month to pull that data and upload it into NetSuite. So we've saved a lot of time there as well, even though we don't have an integration.
Absolutely. I just wanted to add, basically touch upon that. So we have real-time integration with, NetSuite. So it's an API-backed in native API integration. So at the vendor detail or the supplier management level, it's a bidirectional sync in real time. But we also sync basically the bills and the bill payments and the invoice payments that happen in real time with NetSuite, right? So it goes as a file in NetSuite. So essentially, the reconciliation is a lot more easier. Since we are collecting all the information, we are like a bank, all the payment information, everything is reconciled in the system itself. And with a click, basically, you're able to reconcile within NetSuite, and it goes in. And in a lot of cases, we've seen, a majority of the cases, we see the financial close basically accelerating more than 25% just because of the real-time integration with NetSuite. And we are basically, the Suite App of the Year and partner with NetSuite. We also integrate with, in real time, basically, to APIs with Sage Intacct and with QuickBooks Online. And there are a lot more flat file integrations with other ERPs that are scheduled on the roadmap as well. So just wanted to share that. So staying with you, Abby, one of the objections that we hear internally is, everything is running smoothly. We are not big enough. We don't have the resources or the budget. So how would you kind of sell an AP or a payables automation solution to the senior management? Can you share some advice, get some best practices to the folks listening in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just recently had to do this, so it's very relevant. So I think there's multiple areas to think about here, and I always start with what's the efficiency we're going to gain, and so I tried to put hours around that. And so if we were to automate our AP process and payment process, what are the hours we're gaining that we can work on other things? And so I tried to put time around that is one area, and then really the fees. So the fees associated with using PayPal on its own, or using the bank and wires on their own, using another system to take to do ACH and check payments. I quantified those fees, and then I compared it to the fees that Tipalti has, and there was definitely savings there. So that was the second area I looked at. And then the third I already mentioned, and just the efficiencies gained in the close process. Even though we don't have a direct integration yet, the reconciliation process and the reports from Tipalti make it really easy and seamless in the close process, and we definitely gained some time back there and are able to close much faster because of it. And then the fourth area, it's a little different for Sovrn, but I think it's still important in that it's what's the experience like from a vendor perspective, since it's our publishers and there's thousands and thousands of them. Using Tipalti and having this automated AP system is such a better experience for them, and they're able to control, payment types, payment methods, all of that, the tax compliance information. And so I think that it's really important to think about the vendors as well.
That's great advice, Abby, essentially. And, basically building a business case and basically then getting some proof points, and generally vendors will help you with those. Tipalti certainly helps you with those, and then getting some use cases and testimonials as well. Just wanted to add that there are some of the non-quantifiable basically factors of not changing as well, right? You talked about the resources required with manual point systems, but there's also the part that you touched upon around the errors or lack of compliance, the lack of visibility into your cash flow, which basically take away the time and energy from your business growth, generally putting your long-term success at risk. So that's excellent advice as well. So I think, Erica, there's a question that you can, I think, take on basically based on your experience with the system itself. Can you give an example of the supplier management rules that are in place? And I'm assuming they're talking about what kind of data, information, and that you collect basically around the suppliers.
Yeah, sure. So the type of data that's being collected by your suppliers, your payees, is their address and also their preferred payment method. So they will be able to choose which payment method that they would like to have. Also within that is having the capabilities of offering your suppliers, your payees, the ability to receive that payment in their local currency. And then beyond that, collecting the tax forms, so the W-9, W-8s, and also VAT when needed. Wrapped up in a bow is 26,000 validation rules that are taking place behind that platform, validating that the data is accurate. When your payees are entering their banking information, we're validating real time that payment information is correct. And as you can imagine, that reduces payment errors. And we've seen about a 60% reduction in payment errors by collecting accurate data real time.
That's such a key point, Erica, essentially. So global payments, can be complex. Abby touched upon it. You talked about it. Basically knowing what payment method requires which fields globally is not easy. And there are 26,000 global rules that you talked about that are applied across the board to basically eliminate, in most cases, the errors part. And, I can give you a specific example as in, coming from India originally. If you're sending a wire transfer to India, there is like the information that, folks generally never hear of, basically beneficiary bank information, the ABA information, the SWIFT code, the BIC code, IRC code, et cetera. So it's basically highly complex across different payment methods in different countries. So we validate that in real time across all fields, when we capture this information. And as you stated, Erica, it basically eliminates significantly the payer errors. And that actually helps you at the back end as well, because a lot of the calls that come in from your partners and suppliers around where is my payment, what are the errors, you can just, first of all, it's eliminated. In case there are any, you can actually gain the visibility through your supplier or partner portal that's out there. So we provide complete supplier visibility, basically, which reduces all these status inquiries, and suppliers get real-time proactive information, the notification around payments, and they can get a real view of payments and invoices as well from that perspective.
Absolutely. And then, to Abby's point earlier as well, is just the amount of time that's given back to the AP organization by allowing Tipalti to handle that and automate that entire process. Very valuable.
Absolutely. And, one of the questions that we get, and Erica, I think, staying with you on around tax compliance, right? You touched upon all the W-8s, W-9s we get and the year-end tax withholdings that we get. So how is tax information collected and validated? You showed it. And the question is, I have international partners to pay, and we struggle to collect tax information. So how are W-8 forms handled?
Yeah, great question. So I think many folks on the line today understand the complexity with the W-8, W-8 BIN, W-8 BIN-E. We've worked closely with Kpmg to create all of these digitized tax forms. And specifically with the W-8s, we have narrowed it down to 5 sections. And with those 5 sections, it's being able to make it less complex. And also, as your payee is filling out the tax form, they are driven to the next appropriate section that applies to them. So we're taking out the complexity. Also, we've noticed that a lot of payees that would need a W-8, they're not quite sure which W-8 they should fill out or if they should fill out one at all. So we also have within the portal a short 5-question questionnaire, and it will drive them to the appropriate tax form that they should fill out. I'll mention it as well with the tax forms. The fact that Tipalti is collecting this data for you, we're also housing that data for you safely. So when December comes around, you are not having to connect with your vendors and gather the tax forms and making sure that they're accurate. They're all right there for you, keeping you tax compliant at all times.
Yeah, that's so correct, Erica. Yeah, I was talking, basically, I was on mute in between. Sorry about that. So, but like the point that you made, Tipalti did a study a couple of years back, and we found that only 10% of the payers that we surveyed were automatically validating whether their partners or suppliers have submitted error-free tax forms. So that's huge, because the onus is on you as a payer to say that, okay, I've collected this, and to report it to the IRS, or else you get hit with basically compliance fines and other things as well. And like you talked about, and Abbey is an example, because closing the books at year end is hectic enough, and then waiting to collect all the W-9s and W-8s, from suppliers and partners at the end of the year when it's trying to prepare the 1099s and basically do the filings, just adds unnecessary stress and chaos to the AP department. So everything is done up front and basically helps you not drain resources on this manual function, which is basically a cost center in many ways, and help you focus on more strategic activities, right? So I think there are a few questions, but we are at the top of the hour, and I apologize that we couldn't get to all the questions, but I assure you that somebody from Tipalti will respond to all the questions. And with that, I want to thank our expert panelist, Abbey Herlein, for her compelling story. I also want to thank Michael Cole for the engaging overview about Everflow. Thanks, Michael. And Erica, thank you for the excellent demo and for answering the questions as well. Scott, thank you for the interview with Abbey. And thank you, everyone, for taking the time to attend today. Have a great rest of the day and stay safe. Thanks.